foot of snow last night. Was outside hiking up a mountain all day, soaking wet. Oh, now it's time to hit a few balls. So really something that I've learned over the years playing golf is that there's no one golf swing. You know, there's not a swing that will work for every single player on the planet. There are certain fundamentals, sure, grip, alignment, coming across the ball is going to make it fade, coming from the inside with a more closed face is going to make it draw, besides some of those basic, general standards, there's no perfect way to swing a golf club. And I just think it's foolish. A lot of people buy into that. These people online that are, trying to sell their golf lessons. Let's all swing the club exactly the same way, and that's the answer. And the reason why that doesn't work is because humans aren't built the same. Some people are 5'5", some people are 6'5". You think those two players are going to swing exactly the same? Absolutely not. A shorter player is going to, their hands are going to be down here because they're shorter. They're going to tend to have more of this straight line here versus a taller player usually gets a little bit more angle between their arms and the shaft. And then as far as the swing itself, if you imagine if I was super short, look how flat my swing needs to be. Versus if I was super tall, and this is obviously very much an exaggeration, but if I was up here and had to swing, look how upright my swing would be. I just wanted to show you the exaggerated ends here so you can really see the difference. So taller people generally, of course there's always exceptions to all rules, but generally taller, lengthier people are going to have a more upright swing versus shorter, stout guys are going to have a more around themselves swing. That's just generally speaking. All right, I got my 1-iron. It's an old Ping I2 1-iron, and I absolutely love this club. It's a rocket off the tee. Let's see. This tee is actually really high compared to what I would normally do. This club just feels so good, and it seriously almost goes as far as my 3-wood. It's longer than my 5-wood, shorter than my 3-wood. It's kind of right in between the two. But it's just a low bullet that runs. This club actually won me a club championship. Very, very tough course. One of the toughest courses in the entire state. Basically every hole is carved out of the trees. There's no room for error. A lot of elevated greens and tee boxes. And this 1-iron, those low bullets, were absolutely key off a lot of those elevated tee boxes. Just 250, a 250 bullet down the middle. I didn't lose a ball all weekend. And that did it for me. I just stayed right around even par the whole time. It was windy, really tough course. We were obviously playing the tips, a little over 7,000 yards. Snap hook. Still trying that new backswing. I'm not used to that timing where I hover the club and I'm trying to start everything with my arms and shoulders so my hips get to the top at the same time. Because naturally what I want to do is right away I get my hips going, and by the time I'm here my hips have already finished turning. And then I have a habit of, before I even get to the top, my hips are already wanting to go forward. So that's why I've been training myself to start my backswing with my arms and let the hips follow. Everything gets to the top at the same time. Probably doesn't look like much, but it's a funny feel to me. Probably probably shouldn't be warming up with a 1 iron. I only hit 2 or 3 golf balls before I turned the camera on. Yeah, let's just hit a 4 iron. Something a little easier to hit. You know, I've always played blades, just a nice muscle back. And everyone talks about how hard they are to hit, you know, they're not forgiving at all. And that's simply not true. I mean, I'm a good ball striker, but still, when I catch one thin, a little off the toe, it's not like it doesn't go anywhere. It's still just about the same shot as it would off the center. It might take a little distance off, but really no more than a cavity back iron. They look nicer, feel nicer, and I just think the ball flight I get with a blade is nicer. I had a set of Titleist AP2s for a while. My ball striking just kind of got sloppy. I don't know, just looking down at this bigger head, and there was obviously a little more room for error, and I think that just in my mind, it's just having a bigger face just gave me more room to miss. It's kind of like a 3-wood versus a modern day driver. I'm not a big fan of these big 460cc drivers. You know, I'll tend to hit my driver a little more all over the face than my 3-wood, and I think that's just because of kind of what I was explaining. You have that big face, so it's harder to really pinpoint the center versus a club head the size of, you know, a 3-wood. It forces you to be more precise. That's why I've always wanted, you know, a smaller headed driver, but that still feels and performs the same on center strikes as modern technology does. But I don't think many, I think they had, TaylorMade came out with one a little while ago, but I didn't like it very much. They're starting to warm up. I was freezing when I first got in here. I'm gonna warm me up like hitting a dozen golf balls. Oh, yeah. The reason I and many other players wouldn't want to start already in the impact position, you know, where you're up like this, hands high, because if I start here, I can only take the club so far back. So the club is traveling a shorter distance, and something that travels a shorter distance doesn't have the potential to create as much momentum as something that's traveling a longer distance. That's one of the reasons your hands are lower and kind of come back this way and then around, is because this kind of shape here, there's a lot more distance traveled in that shape versus a straight line to here and down. That's a very short amount of space, for one. And then if I were to start in this impact position to begin with, you know, right here at this impact position, I have nowhere to go. I've just eliminated an entire power source. So now I'm relying on the rest of my body to generate the power, when before, as opposed to starting in this athletic position, you have all the same arm and shoulder power sources as you normally would, except for coming into the ball, this kind of jump from the athletic position into the ball, that's creating more speed right there. So it's just another power source. There are many power sources in the swing. I don't know if anyone utilizes all of them to their full potential at the same time. Some players utilize one power source more than other players. For example, one power source are your wrists, right? I can hit a golf ball with just my wrist and generate a little bit of power. But then if I bring my arms into the equation, I can use my wrists and my arms and generate more power. Then if I bring my shoulders into the equation, there's 3 power sources. All of those things are working together. arms, shoulders, chest, wrists. Then if I bring my lower body into the equation, there's a fourth power source. And so on and so on. This is what I mean by there are different power sources. Kind of like hammering a nail. You can hammer a nail just like this, or just, only with your forearm. You could not use your forearm and only use your shoulder joint, or you can use both, using both power sources and creating more. Or if I use my body, I can get an even heavier power source. So it's all about matching up your power sources all at the same time to generate your most potential speed. And that's something like Rory McIlroy does really well. He maxes out his potential speed. But then on the other end of that spectrum, the controlled end, because not everyone is just trying to hit it far. It's a game of how many, of course. You might have someone like Mo Norman, probably the greatest ball striker to ever live, never hit it offline. But he definitely wasn't utilizing all of his potential power. He was no slouch off the tee, but he wasn't the longest guy. And part of that reason was he would start in that impact position with higher arms here. So the club was traveling a little shorter than, I guess, your standard golf swing. It's a little shorter distance, so it would create a little less momentum than he could potentially create if he swung a different way. And he's missing that power source going from the athletic position, just standing here neutral. The jump, I don't want to call it a jump, because you're not really leaving the ground, but yeah, just kind of that upward push off the ground that is adding even more power. That's one power source that a guy like Mo Norman didn't use, Or look at a guy like Tiger Woods back in the day. When he was a junior, he had super fast hips, and he very much relied on his body and timing to release the ball, and he hit it a country mile. Everyone knows he's had surgeries, car accidents, his back is now fused together. He can no longer move the way he used to, yet he's still able to generate similar club head speeds by utilizing different power sources, or at least utilizing power sources in a different way than he used to. He's much more using his upper body, arms, and wrist speed, because he just doesn't have the strength like he used to, in his back and in his hips, in his lower body, his leg surgery. He just doesn't have that strength anymore, so he's relying on more of his arms and chest and wrist power source. And ideally, whatever set of power sources you are using in your swing fits your specific body type and how you naturally want to move the club. I've worked with many people, helping them with their swings, and I would never, try to make everybody's swing exactly the same. When I work with somebody, I look at where they're struggling and try to improve them there. That doesn't mean the next person that I'm trying to help, I would have do the exact same things, the exact same drills, or even sometimes working with two different players, you just have to describe a feel in a different way to different people. Because some people, might be very analytical and understanding of golf lingo and terminology. Other people may not, and you may have to paint a more vibrant picture for them than others. So not only golf and the golf swing is very unique, but how you teach people to improve their games also needs to be its own unique. Each person needs to have, you need to have your own unique game plan of strengths and weaknesses. Because again, humans are not built identical from one another. If I said this and just Hitting a little 4-iron here, trying to warm up. I think 4-iron might be one of my favorite clubs. 4-iron, 3-iron. I've always been a huge fan of the long irons. Can never hit hybrids or you know, a 7-wood or anything like that very well. I just hit it off target more often. It goes too high, too much spin. But a long iron I've always felt very comfortable with. All right, maybe I'll hit some drivers. Really get warmed up. I haven't swung one of those yet today. Is this thing still recording? The camera keeps just turning off. Hey, look at that. All right. I know a lot of my videos are pretty scatterbrained, but I've mentioned it before, I don't plan any of these videos. I'm just here working on my own swing, and these videos are more for me than anyone else. But I try to answer some questions that I get and help people if I can. I've always been, I don't know, a guy people come to when they're having trouble with golf, because people know not only golf is a passion of mine, but helping people and just swing dynamics. And I am very much a student of the game that has been obsessed my entire life, and I really soak up golf knowledge because I enjoy it. All right, nice low tee, warm up with little drivers, and there's some baby cuts. Ooh, that felt nice. Right out the middle. I promise I've never lied. They really are right out the middle when I say they are. You can see it. Yeah. Can you see it on there? Right there. My miss is usually a little thin and a little toey, maybe right here. That's usually where I miss the ball. I very, very rarely catch one off the heel. But more often than not, I'm just hitting it right in the center. It's usually, you know, if I've already played 36 holes and I'm tired, end of the day, that's usually when I start catching them a little more off the toe. Actually, with that one a little bit, I set it and I manifested it just a hair out towards the toe. No, it's really hard to see on here. Yeah, you can see the first one was in the center and that second one was a little higher off the toe. I don't know what this is. That's just a smudge. That's nothing. The first one, second one. That's what I'm always talking about. I set myself up for failure there. I'm sitting there talking about hitting it off the toe. Well, I'm addressed at the ball, and sure enough, I towed it. That was middle. I know these balls look like crap that I'm always hitting, but they're just shag balls. I have a trash can full of Pro V1s. Oh, that's not the right side. They're all Pro V1s. They've just seen better days. They're my practice balls. My second home is the golf course, so on those rainy days where no one's playing, I'm out in the woods with an old wedge finding golf balls. Ball hunting, as we used to call it. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, pretty accurate of my general strike pattern. I'm usually pretty good at hitting it right in the center, but as you can see, slightly out towards the toe might be my miss. You see that second one there on the toe, and the rest basically middle. It took me a while to get used to teeing it up higher, Because when I was a kid, I remember being like, I don't know, I think I was maybe 14, 15 when the first Drive 460cc drivers came out. And I remember looking at I think it was a 380cc driver before that, being like, how can anybody play this thing? 380 cc's, it's the size of a basketball. I'm not playing this goofy thing. Now look at us, we all have 460. Well, I think this one's 440. 20 cc's is nothing. All right. I don't hit a lot of drivers on the range or when I'm practicing. Generally, I'll hit some iron, a couple different irons when I first start. And I might hit a handful of drivers just because it's my longest club and it's going to loosen me up the most. But I think it'll help your game a lot. Instead of just sitting on the range blasting driver, sit on the range with a 3-iron and hit that all day. That was hammered. And that's what I was talking about the other day. I hit a drive on the center and I said, I think actually the furthest drives are slightly above center. That was that one. It's hard to do with this really low tee. It's almost too low to allow you, but if you look ever so slightly above center, that last one, yeah, that's the real sweet spot, just above the middle. It'll create a little bit higher launch, but lower spin. And everyone knows high launch, low spin equals distance, so that's why slightly above the equator of the club is actually that money spot, that long ball zone. But I like middle of the club face, honestly. I take middle all day. Golf's really not that hard of a game. I think people end up psyching themselves out mentally is really the biggest issue. And they just don't want to do the work. If you put the work in, you can get good at golf. The problem is most people don't want to do that. They want to, play 9 holes and then go to the bar later and party. Guys like me play 9 holes, then go out, play another 9, then another 9, and another 9. Then you find us on the range afterwards. I mean, I bet you I've hit well over 1 million golf balls in my life. Many days hitting well over 500 to 1,000 balls a day. Plus, playing 18. If you want to see some more ball striking, they're basically just all on top of each other. Still that one ugly one out towards the toe, but all of them are right there in the center. And this is why I don't edit my videos, because anyone can hit one good shot and then push, stop, and then film another good shot. And put them all together, and it looks like they're great. But if you can't do it consistently, it really doesn't matter, does it? What do we want to hit? Let's hit here. Now let's go for that 1-iron. I'm more warmed up now. I think I showed you this. 1-iron. It's an old Ping I2. This thing's almost as old as I am. I think it came out in 1989. Oh, that's fucking ripped. Oh, that felt good. Felt real good. It's amazing too, because I believe this club is cast. Generally, cast clubs don't have that nice feel. Like you can tell right away when a club is cast versus forged generally. Forged is going to be a lot softer metal. See, this tee is too high for this. That was off the top of the club face. Never been a high tier of the ball. A lot of times, especially if I really need to, hit the fairway finder, I hit my 3-iron off a lot of tees without actually using a tee. I just find it a little more accurate. It takes a few yards off. I can hit it further on a tee, a little further, but especially not a big high tee like this. It's not super high. You can see it, right? Everything's blocking my view. Yeah, it's not super high, but it's just a little higher than I normally would tee an iron. Or a 3-wood, really, for that matter. Let's talk about some more short game. So, let's see, I gotta get the camera to do a thing first. Here, actually, let's just do it right here. Just a little lower. So, I know in another video, I was talking about people chipping by starting in this 90-degree position and trying to return to that 90-degree position as a terrible way to chip. I do think that is a terrible way to chip, but let me explain why. To chip like that, what you're doing is you're using the bounce of the club rather than catching it crisp and pinching it. So it's gonna come out with a lot less spin, just kind of with this slappy method. And another thing is, if I'm in deep rough, see how low this, hey. If I'm just here, it's not angled enough. Sorry, anyone who's watching. All right, it's going back up here. So if I have my hands forward and I'm playing it a little in back of center with the hinge and hold method, this is the way I would suggest people hit chips and pitches. The club is coming down on a much steeper angle. So if you're buried in the rough, have a nice hairy lie, not a nice hairy lie, but an awfully hairy lie, having that steeper swing path is going to avoid so much more of that rough and that nasty stuff you don't want to get in between your club face and the ball, versus chipping like this. You can see the club is coming in much lower and it's going to catch all that heavy rough, and you're just kind of slapping at the ball. It's going to have no spin. It's kind of a classic way of chipping from back in the day when the greens were real slow and it really didn't matter. You don't really see guys chipping like that anymore because greens are hard and fast these days generally. That's why you see most of the time, just set this up real quick. Do something with that. Maybe you can see it a little better from this closer angle. But if I have my hands forward and I'm playing this a little further back than center, and I come up, I hinge and I hold, look at the angle the club head is coming down onto the ball. Versus, if I were to play it more in the middle, wait, I didn't even do it, I was still leading with my hands. This is not a way I would chip. So if I were to start this way, and just try to return, you see how low that club is? Imagine if this were in rough, like hairy rough. I'd be catching all that rough on my way through. Versus this, I'm coming down, I miss all the rough, I can pinch the ball. The ball's gonna ride up the club face better, creating a lot more spin. Especially if you need a lot of spin or you're on a downhill lie, it's a good angle to show you. Open that club face just a little bit. What it does is it exposes the bounce on the bottom of the club. Basically what this method is doing, it's exposing the bounce. You can do that with a steeper swing. Hands forward in a steeper swing, you just gotta open the face. You have the best of both worlds. You have bounce and a good angle of attack coming into the golf ball in order to produce spin. So if you really need to stop one quick, and a flop shot's really out of the question, this is more of a lower spinner. Just kind of little back of center, slightly open face, hinge, and hold. And what I like to imagine is there's very little wrist action, and it's really more of a chest turn. And this triangle, you can see your arms and chest form a triangle at a dress. I'm really trying to, especially on little 50-yard, 40-yard pitches, I'm really trying to maintain that triangle through, and I feel like I'm almost hitting the ball with my sternum. Rather than, just using my hands, it's more of a chest turn back and through. That's real important. But little open face, little back of center, hinge, hold. It's really simple. What else should I do? I don't even want to stop the video. I'm just gonna keep going. No cuts. Here, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna run through all my clubs real quick. Grab some of these, and these, and these. These. Alright, got some balls. No one wants to see me hit a lob wedge into a net. I'm just gonna start with pitching wedge. You can see that. Yeah. Not even going to shape the ball. I'm just going to try to get everything straight. Get mat in position first. Not all crooked. Speaking of a crooked mat, one thing to watch out for actually on the course is obviously you're hitting off of a tee box, not a mat. But many times, if I'm aiming at the camera, that tee box, will aim off, not necessarily in the direction you're going to want to hit. And it's kind of tough to go against the natural direction a tee box is aiming. So that's another reason I will stand behind the ball and pick a spot somewhere in front of the ball as to where I want to start it. You say there's a spot kind of right here, little blemish or whatever. Line your club face up to that. And then your feet, hips, and shoulders parallel to that line. What you don't want to do, you don't want to aim your feet at that spot, but rather in a parallel line. So if your feet are here, and the ball's not lined up there, it's not everything converges at that point. It's just parallel lines. But pick a spot in front of the ball from behind, and it's really going to improve your setup and aiming. All right, some pitching wedges. Some nice chippy wedges. 9-iron. A little skinny. I always end up doing that on mats. Because you can't take a divot. You know, you try to take a big divot and the club kind of bounces on the mats. I feel like if you practice too much off a mat without intentionally getting down and taking divots on it, you end up picking everything clean. So make sure you're taking divots if you're practicing on a mat. I think it's a little rougher on your hands too, because I'll notice after a practice session off the mats, I feel like my wrists are a little sore. First, I can play golf all day and hit on the range all day off of real grass. My wrists aren't sore at all. I think there's just a little bounce off that hard rubber that you don't get on sod. Nice. I was really trying to not move my hips. Wow, that was beautiful. Got that on camera. There it is. All right, I'm gonna stop hovering the club. I've been doing that a lot because it helps me start with my arms and not my hips. But it really has been making my ball striking suffer. I'm so used to starting at a stagnant position with my club resting behind the ball, not hovering above it. See, the second I put my club down, I hit it as pure as I possibly can, as you possibly can. All right, screw the 9-iron. I don't know what it is. It's not my set. I've always felt this way, you know, for my last however many sets of irons. I've never been a big fan of a 9-iron. I've always been more apt to, you know, swing a little harder with my wedge or hit a little chippy 8-iron rather than hitting 9-irons. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but a 9-iron is my least favorite club. I'm not afraid to hit it, but just for some reason my least favorite club. All right, here's the 8. Also, golfing with layers on. I got my long johns and everything on underneath here. It's a little chippy, but it felt so good off the face. I like that, just a little chippy cut a lot. You know, from like 150, it's about a 150-yard shot. Again, I can hit my 150 easy, but a lot of times it's the late iron, 150. And it just feels like a little chest turn, and I just hit little knockdown cuts. That isn't one of my favorite shots, just a little knockdown cut. It seems deadly accurate. Ooh, not like that, but a little fat. Rushing. It's alright. Alright. Nice little 150 cut. There it is. I gotta take a lot off to hit 150. If I swing pretty full at an 8-iron, it goes more like 165. 155, 160 is more of, you know, just a standard. Don't have to swing hard, don't have to swing soft. About 158 actually is the exact number, but that should have been about 158. I can't stress enough how much distance control is, just how important distance control is when it comes to shooting low scores. It's more important than being able to hit the ball on line, is being able to hit the ball the correct distance. You know, when you want to hit it 155, hitting it 155 instead of 150 or 160. You know, you want to be on that number, pin high, as they say, more often than not. And if you can get your distances down, you know, everything first inside of 150, you know, if you can get your distances inside of 150 at least, pretty darn accurate, within 5 yards or so, your scores are going to lower. And then once you do that, you know, start working on your distance control outside of 150 to maybe say 150 to 175, and then push that back to 200 and so on. Excuse me. The 7-iron. I'll even hit 7-iron sometimes from 150. With that wind, just choke up on it, throw it back in my stance, and just hit just a little doinker. It's a low one. You know, if I got green to work with, pins in the back, I like hitting those low ones that kind of doink, doink, and just kind of check up and maybe release a little bit, rather than, yeah, I can hit an 8-iron or a 9-iron 150, I mean, but I'm gonna have to fly it all the way there. It's just gonna hit and stick, or, you know, it's even gonna spin back some. And the pins in the back, that's tough to do. So that's why I might hit a 7-iron where I could hit a 9. I can just choke up on it, play it off the back. Just hit a nice controlled little cut in there. That was a 7. 7. Alrighty. 6-iron. Are you still recording? Or did you stop? No, still recording. Holy cow. I don't know what's up with my phone. It's just been shutting off randomly while recording, and now it's not doing it. So, hey, can't complain, I guess. Six-iron. That was just a pretty standard straight one. Here's, you know, maybe if I was like 160 and I had to hit one of those little chippy cuts I'm always talking about, it's one of my favorite shots, just a little knockdown cut. Practice those little knockdown shots. They don't have to be cuts, they can be draws. But practicing those little knockdown cuts, I think you're really going to improve on just your proximity to the hole with your second shots, rather than, you know, taking whatever club you can barely reach with and swinging hard at it. Learn to hit your other clubs different distances, and you're going to be, it's just easier to get the ball around the course and to get the ball onto certain places of the green, whether there's different plateaus or the pins in the back on the right. Say the pins on the right, for example, the little fade is it's going to hit more towards the middle of the green and kind of spin, kick over to the right side, versus a draw, it's going to kind of have that left hand kick and spin. So right there is a reason you want to shape your shots coming into the green. I don't think I'm ever really trying to hit a straight shot on the golf course. There's always one direction it's going to go in. Big draw. I mean, if I'm hitting an iron, say, just, you know, laying up on a short par 4 or whatever, usually, depending on the shape, I just go for a, you know, little draw. And if anything, it just might stay out a little straight. Or same thing, I might just go for a little cut, depending on the hole shape. But I'm really not ever just thinking this is gonna go dead straight, because the realistically, you're not going to hit a dead straight shot. And if you do, there's still probably going to be wind and stuff that's going to affect the flight. Ugh. Hey. Man, I really hit the ball bad when I'm talking. What the hell? That was terrible. Alright, I want to get out of here. 6 iron. 5. I already hit the driver. I'm going to take that one still. 5 iron. And 4 iron. I did already. That was ripped. I hit it so much better when I start focusing on hitting the ball instead of thinking about things to tell my telephone. Weird how that works, huh? 5 irons. Four iron. Already hit some of these, but hit some more. 4 iron. Oh yes, I love those long irons. I'm really good with the wedges, but honestly, I think the strongest part of my game is my iron game, long irons and mid irons. There's the 4 iron. Here's the 3. These are Dynamic Gold X100 shafts, by the way. I don't know if I said that in my what's in the bag. These are just regular size Golf Pride, what are they, multi-compound or whatever grips, except for I have 4 wraps of tape underneath. So they're a little closer to mid-size than regular, but not quite mid-size. Ball striking, ball striking, ball striking. Get your ball striking good. The game's hard enough hitting the ball in the middle every time. So I can't imagine being a poor ball striker and still trying to get around. I mean, that being said, I don't think I've ever met another person who strikes the ball as well as I do, or at least that's how I feel. I can honestly say I've never met a player who beats me a majority of the time. I can honestly say that. All right, 3 wood. I skipped the 5. That's right. This is 3 woods. Nice cut. It's usually my natural shot shape. Just a little cut. Slight pull, cuts right back on mine. Man, that was hit good. Got some higher ones. I'm trying to knock them down. Yeah, high ones too. Oh! Right as I said it, I hit it thin. That was poor. That was a bad swing. Ball, 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 ball. No focus whatsoever. 3-wood usually flies about, I don't know, 265 for me. I can get it to about 280 if I really get after it. All right, here's that 280, 283 wood. Ah, man, I thinned it. The fuck? All right. Can't believe I'm gonna show everyone this. This is terrible. It's kind of the worst I've hit the ball in a while. There it is. Woo! One more. You want a few more? Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. Going. This little short driver tee. On the course, I don't know if I tee it quite this low, honestly. I usually tee it a little lower than most, but this tee is particularly low. I don't know if you can notice. Almost the entire ball is below the club face. So to get it above the equator, you almost have to hit the mat. Hammer. Like I said, I rarely miss the middle of the club face, but that doesn't mean it always goes straight. Golf is a hard enough game hitting the center of the club face, so practice, practice, practice your ball striking. That was a little left. Felt like I turned it over a bit. All right, I just wanted a quick session. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten all day. I'm going home to eat some dinner. Peace.